So now that we've gone through our soft tissue quality and soft tissue length, so we've improved the quality, the density of our tissue, and we've lengthened and gone through our active isolated stretches to create some motion and some flexibility there. The next step of our goaltender pre-practice prep is our mobility prep section. So in short, we want to address and improve mobility at three key areas of the body: the ankle, the hip, and the thoracic spine. Right? So very brief anatomy lesson. The body is kind of built in an alternating fashion of joints that need more mobility or more stability. Okay, so in general, the ankle for most individuals and kind of from a human body standpoint needs mobility. It should have a lot of range of motion three-dimensionally. The knee should be relatively stable. It should pretty much just go straight forward and back. If it goes left and right, then we have a torn ACL, right? So mobility, stability. Hips need to have mobility. We should have a large range of motion in three dimensions. The lumbar spine, our low back, is actually designed to be relatively stable. If you understand, if you look at the way the vertebrae are designed from kind of our hips up to, our lumbar spine travels up to about where our rib cage is, that area is supposed to be relatively stable. It shouldn't have a ton of motion. But the next segment up, our thoracic spine, is designed to have a ton of motion. That system follows all the way through. We can go through the shoulder and the elbow and the wrist and the fingers. It goes kind of all the way through the body. But this is really important to understand, because if you don't have mobility in an area that needs it, like the ankle, then the next joint up is going to take more stress than it should. Okay, so if I'm in the butterfly and I don't have good ankle mobility, which I don't have great ankle mobility myself, the knee is going to take a lot more stress. I'm still going to get into positions that I need to get into to compete and play, but if that ankle is locked up, this knee takes more stress than it should. Okay, if the hips don't move well, right, then the next joint up is going to take a lot more stress. Our low back, our lumbar spine. A lot of times when you have individuals or athletes or even just general population with low back pain and problems, the first place good physical therapists will look, good performance coaches are going to look, is at the hips. Because if the hips are stiff and not moving, then the low back is going to do a lot more than it's supposed to, and we're going to get a problem there. Same thing at the thoracic spine. If this doesn't move very well, then it's going to show up with potential problems at our cervical spine, our neck, or potentially our shoulder. So we want to make sure that we're improving or at least maintaining good mobility at those three key segments. The other areas we want to develop stability, and that's more from a training side of things and how we think about sort of training the core and things along those lines. But we want to address mobility from sort of the ankle up, ankle, hip, and thoracic spine. The other piece of our mobility prep sequence that we want to try to address is end range stability. So we want to develop mobility at those joints, but especially at the hip, we also want to develop some strength at end range, right? So that when we get into these extended positions that we have to get into as a goaltender, we actually have strength while we're in that position. The muscles and joints are at their weakest, generally speaking, when we're extended, right? I'm pretty strong through my groin and my hips if I'm here. If I get hit and run over from this position, I'm gonna be probably okay. But if I'm extended way out trying to make a save and somebody clips my toe, comes across my foot, or twists my back leg, I'm not very strong at these positions, and that's where I'm much more likely to end up with some type of soft tissue injury. So we want to address and sort of train for mobility at those segments. We also, especially with the hips, we want to develop strength at those end ranges. And that concept comes from a methodology or a philosophy called functional range conditioning, or FRC, which you may have heard of. And their system is really brilliant at developing not only mobility through these areas, but also strength and stability at end ranges. So I'll show you some of those things that we'll go through as we go. The first exercise we're going to do, is for the ankle. It's called the three-way dorsiflexion. It's really simple. All we're basically going to try to do, I'll do it up against the wall in a minute, is create as much motion going forward into dorsiflexion as I can in sort of 3 directions. So what it's gonna look like against the wall is I'm gonna do 3 reps where I'm trying to touch my knee to the wall going over my little toe, 3 reps straight ahead, and then 3 reps kind of over the big toe. The key to performing these exercises is that the heel of the front leg has to stay on the ground, okay? So as I'm doing these, if this heel, I'm not worried about the back leg at all, but if my front heel comes off the ground, I'm no longer actually addressing mobility at the ankle, okay? So that's a really key concept here is we go as far into the range of motion as possible without the heel coming off the ground. So again, really simple what it looks like against the wall. Front leg is all I'm worried about. I'm gonna try to touch my knee to the wall 3 times over that little toe, 3 times straight ahead. And if I can touch the wall, I'm just gonna scoot my foot back about 1/2 inch. So I have sort of a guidepost. I'm aiming for that wall, but I can't quite reach it. I wanna increase that over time. And then 3 over that big toe. So inside, outside, and up the middle. 3 little, 3 in the middle, 3 over the big toe. Okay. A big key to mobility work, mobility training, is consistently getting to end range. It's a lot like we talked about with foam rolling and soft tissue management. 1 time a week, 1 time every 2 weeks when you're sore, minimally helpful. A little bit all the time, very helpful. Mobility is the same stuff. We're not probably going to make huge changes in the short term, but if every day we're consistently touching on and getting to end range, that can add up a lot over time. Right? The second exercise we're going to do is kind of borrowed from the FRC playbook. Actually, it's going to be the all 4 position, pails and rails. So I'm basically in this position as wide as I can get with my knees, hands in front of me, and it's really, really simple. You're not gonna see a lot of motion here, but all I'm gonna do once I'm kind of stretched out and at end range, I'm gonna squeeze both knees into the ground as forcefully as I can. So I'm gonna pull in for about 3 seconds, in, relax. Now I'm gonna try to pull my knees out for about 3. 1, 2, 3. Again, you're not seeing a lot of motion, but what I'm doing now, pulling back in, create tension, 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 relax, pull out, tension, tension, tension. And what I'm actually getting done is, if this is the joint, this is my leg, and this is my hip, I'm getting to that end range and then creating tension at that spot. I'm getting to that end range and then creating tension at that spot. So I'm working on that mobility for my hip, but I'm also working on strength and stability once I'm out where I can get to. The next one we're gonna do is the split position pails and rails. So again, similar concept to what I just did. In this case, I'm gonna use 2 kettlebells or something heavy, kind of relatively immovable. If you don't have this, you could be in a door frame, you could be up against kind of the bleachers, anything that allows you to create tension in without your legs actually moving. And then I wanna do the same thing coming out. So again, I'm gonna get myself close to end range, as far kind of as stretched out as I can get. And I wanna create tension in. So I'm gonna pull in on these kettlebells, tension, tension, tension. Relax, I'm gonna pull out, 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 out. Good. Now I should get a little more range every time I do it, a little more flexibility there. That's, if you're familiar with PNF stretching, there's a similar concept going on that allows you to kind of gradually gain some range of motion. So that's really beneficial. So again, in, and now out, 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 out. Good. And once I've gotten some good range there and I'm starting to get comfortable with that and strong in those positions, we'll add some kind of upper body reaches. So I've got to create that tension in, but also have some motion for my upper body. Because again, I'm going to get into those awkward positions, and it's that strength through that limb and through that hip joint when I'm out here that I'm going to need to help keep myself healthy. Okay. And then the last exercise we're going to do from a mobility standpoint is called a split stance 3-way reach. So this is going to be really simple. I'm going to get into a nice long split squat kind of position. I've got some stretch back here, I got some stretch back here. I'm gonna maintain a stable lower body. So we've already worked on mobility for the hips. Now I wanna be stable and strong here. We want our upper body and our thoracic spine to gain some mobility. So I'm in this position, and now I'm going 3 reaches up and back as far as I can. I'm gonna go 3 rotations as far as I can to my right, and I'm gonna go 3 to my left. And we'll often cue our guys, reach back like you're catching a puck behind you, or you're a wide receiver, you're catching a football. And one of the things that's going on with that, again, we're getting stability and strength down low with mobility up top. We're also, from kind of a geeky standpoint, we're activating, or we're really utilizing the spiral line of our fascia. Fascia is the connective tissue that surrounds all of our muscles and joints, and it's really one interconnected unit that runs from the bottom of your foot all the way up to your forehead. So by getting into these long positions and then rotating in different directions and different reaches, we're stretching and manipulating this fascial network all the way through our body, which is going to be really helpful and important from a mobility and a strength and stability standpoint down the road. So those are some of our mobility prep exercises that we'll perform as part of our pre-practice prep.